Hello my friends, my name is Alexei, and this video is recorded for the website pokerpopup.ru. I'd like to explain the difference between Pokermaster and all the other contemporary Asian poker tools. The main difference is the fact that it supports statistics. Before moving on to the main topic of the video, I'd like to say a few words about what Pokermaster actually is, in case you're not familiar with it. Today Pokermaster is the best known Asian poker room, or I should rather say poker app. Poker is banned in China, and therefore, technically, mobile apps should be used for playing using chips or play money. And then respective agents grant access to private poker rooms where those chips are converted into real money. Those affiliate agents carry out all the operations, registering deposits and cash outs. The main advantage of Pokermaster is a very soft field of players on the middle and high stakes, whereas statistics can give you an extra edge over local regulars and the player pool in general. Before I start playing, I'd like to say a couple words about hand-to-node. This is a tool that enables you to display statistics here. As opposed to Poker Tracker or Hold'em Manager, hand-to-node can be used as a hand converter. But the problem of HM and PT4 is that they don't support the straddle position, as opposed to hand-to-node. You can find statistics on their official websites. I'll give you a link in the description. The main feature in hand-to-node is the complete support of a dynamic HUD. Hold'em Manager and Poker Tracker don't have this. In a dynamic HUD, displayed statistics can change based on several factors. For example, position at the table, action by the opponents, and so on. Such information is usually more flexible and effective. It also saves you a lot of time for making decisions. It takes up less space on the tables, and you don't have to open up various pop-ups so often. I have a table open. Here on Pokermaster, you don't even have to sit at the table to gather statistics. Sometimes it can be very useful. This is a dynamic HUD. It's called Pro Pokermaster, and it was developed by the guys from the statistics workshop pokerpopup.ru. This HUD is designed specifically for Pokermaster and takes into account the straddle position. It is important to have that option because here there are some people who love this bet. Overall we have 210 stats in the HUD itself, plus 505 more in the pop-ups. I think you'll be able to find the necessary stats in any situation. In addition to the dynamic HUD, they have a static HUD. It's called Pro Pokermaster Light Set. Let me show you how it looks. There you go. Today in-game we'll use the dynamic HUD. We'll see how it works, we'll examine the various blocks of the HUD and the pop-ups, and if we don't manage to cover everything, we'll be able to find the full description on the website, along with screenshots and video demonstrations, including the info about the light set, the static HUD. By the way, if you'd like to alter the HUD in any way, let's say to adapt a block of stats to your own needs, it will be easy for you to do that. You can also order a specific layout. Let's say if you're used to your own layout in Hold'em Manager 2 or Poker Tracker, but you'd like to switch to hand-to-node. I should also mention that if you buy the dynamic set, you will get the static set for free. For me, it's also the first time that I play using the dynamic HUD. Let's try to figure out how it works in the process of playing. If you've never used it yet, it'll take some time to get a hang of it, but I can assure you it's a great tool. Unfortunately, I have very small samples on my opponents, because it's also the first time that I happen to play on Pokermaster, and if we don't have enough situations today, I have already referred you to a different review, where you can see everything in details. Now I've opened up a table, and let's play some hands. It is a full ring table, 2-4 yuans, which is equivalent to approximately $60. I will try to use the dynamic HUD, and when we have a situation, I will explain the relevant statistics. In cases when no one has done anything yet, we only have general overall statistics, VP, PFR, and the number of hands. And then, as the action goes on, some new blocks of stats will appear. For example, if someone limps, just like this opponent, we can immediately see the relevant statistics. The limp stat itself, limp fold, next comes fold on the flop and fold on the turn after he limp calls preflop, and next we have raise and donk bet. It is now displayed for all the players who joined the pot by limping. No one has isolated here, that's why we only have the limping stats. While they're playing, let's look at the general pop-up. The pop-up comprises various tabs, and we can find all the necessary statistics here. I don't think you need detailed explanations. I guess everyone plays with a HUD nowadays, and everyone is aware about what all these stats mean. Which tabs do we have here? First, pre-flop, a VPIP PFR in every position, as well as limp, limp fold, limp call, etc. Next we have the 3-bet tab, which shows 3 bets from each position against each position. Same thing for folding to 3 bets. And next we have post-flop stats, the cbet tab, which shows all the necessary stats that are related to cbet situations post-flop. Same thing versus cbet, some general stats. When to showdown, that's all self-explanatory. Steals should also be more or less familiar. These are situations when someone open raises from one of the 3 last positions, button, small blind, and big blind. And 2 more tabs having to deal with situations in 3-bet pots. cbet in 3-bet pots, and playing against cbets in 3-bet pots. If you're interested in more detailed explanations, you can read it in the documentation under the link in the description. Now I'd like to go back to the table, because we had an ISO situation here, and we can immediately see the isolation stats. Isolation itself and folding to ISO raises. If someone cold calls after this isolation, another stat appears here, which is fold to squeeze, FVSQ. Well, as you can see, there's some heavy betting going on. A lot of statistics displayed on every opponent. Let's wait until this hand finishes and wait for another situation. Here we have Queen 6 on the big blind. We see an open limp again. The opponent limps 62%. Almost any hand, pocket 5s, 5-4 offsuit. 2 more limps. Everyone's limping. And we hit a second pair. But I guess it's reasonable to fold to such a bet. Yeah, the game is kind of funny here. I'm still waiting for an open raising situation, because I've played for several minutes here already, and no one has made a single open raise yet. They're mostly limping. $5-2 on the small blind should be a fold, except if everyone joins the pot, then I'll also gamble. Alright, now that's what I'll do, I complete. It's not very good that I don't have any stats on my opponents, I mean any substantial sample, but in case you have mined databases, the HUD will be 10 times more useful. The blinds have the following block of stats. That is all related to stealing situations. This stat represents fold to steal, on a specific position without this frame around it, whereas the stat with a frame refers to overall fold to steal from the small blind and the big blind. Next we have fold to flop bet after he calls. The next line is 3-betting from the specific position, and the second stat is overall 3-bet. But he hasn't 3-bet yet, so I still don't have a number here. The last stat would be c-bet in 3-bet pots. We'll play pocket threes, and overall there's a lot of various blocks of stats here, and you can find one for almost any preflop situation. Here specifically we have isolation raises, but we've seen it already. Alright, here I'm making a call, and we'll play for set value, because I expect everyone else to also join the pot. We've also already seen fold to squeeze. Alright, here we don't hit the flop. And back to the stats. The preflop aggressor also receives an additional block of stats here. How he plays post-flop as the preflop aggressor. C-bet flop, C-bet turn, and there was also bet fold and delayed C-bet. And therefore, if we know his post-flop tendencies, we can already adjust our preflop play. To call more, to 3-bet more, or alternatively to fold more, if he fires every street all too often. I guess it all makes sense. In general, we have many various preflop situations, and to name a few, we have blocks of stats for raising first in, for the situations when we get 3-bet, or we make a 3-bet. We have a specific block of stats for cold calling situations, or when we make a cold call and get squeezed. We've already seen the limping stats because there's a lot of limping going on. I don't think it will come to stealing situations because no one will allow us to steal. Someone will inevitably limp in front of us. Probably we should open up a table from a higher limit, although on 5-10 I've seen the same thing, the same limping party. Okay, let's wait for a little while. Maybe we'll see some interesting spots. Overall, you can get a feel of the average skill of local players. Well, it's not surprising. First of all is Pokermaster, and it's also the minimal limit here. And L60 is not the lowest limit. For me, it's also pretty substantial. Again, ISOing, just like we've already seen. Alright, I'm sorry for this pause. I got distracted a little. And pow, we hit a set. I think I'll have to check here. Yeah, so the problem was my microphone switched off. I don't know how many minutes I went on talking before I noticed it. And here I just make a call on this super dry board. Now he bets 80. I'll have to raise. Let's see. I had very little time, that's why I just raised almost all in. And if he's a fish, it won't make any difference. Okay, we win. I could have made a much better play if it wasn't the first time I play here at Pokermaster. Okay, and now we move on. I hope they let me open raise, and we'll be able to see the stats on stealing. Well, unfortunately not. I've already mentioned this block of stats playing against steals that we have on all the players in the blinds. But I'd also like to show you the raise first stats to make it more interesting for you. Here we flop a gut shot, and I think I'll just check behind, and if I see any action, okay, that's too much. That's a very big bet, and I have to fold. Now I have around 33 hands on the guys, but it's still not enough to look at the stats. An ISO raise again and a cold call. And I definitely fold. And we can already see, well, a cold calling ISO raise. We can see the first stat. The third line fold to squeeze as caller. And the open raiser has fold to squeeze as open raiser. And there you go, here we can see the open raising stats. This is the first time he made an open raise. And next we have fold to 3-bet and fold to c-bet in 3-bet pots. I have to mention that while we have less than 250 hands on the opponent, we'll only see overall stats here. Whereas when the sample is bigger, the stats will be split by in position and out of position, depending on whether the opponent is in position or out of position against you. Alright, we have aces, perfect, and we have 150 big blinds. And this should be a raise. Oh, that's probably a very small one. How do I even choose the raise size? Unfortunately, I didn't know how to make a bigger ISO raise. And I guess I'll have to play multi-way with aces, which is not perfect. Alright, we're left 3-way. The board is not very appealing, and I guess I'll bet 2/3 pot. Weak players should call if they have something. Yeah, I'll have to figure out how the slider works, how to choose bet sizing. I'm very sorry that I haven't prepared well enough for recording, but well, now we'll bet, and if there's some substantial action, we'll just fold. A 3 doesn't change anything. If he has a jack, I think he'll pay off. Well, let's make another bet, and if he has jack 10, I think he'll pay me. What else could he have? Okay, he folds, and we win, awesome. Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't prepared well enough, but the main idea of this video is not to show you how to play your A game, but rather to show the gameplay in Pokermaster and to talk about stats. Not too many situations, but I won't open the second table because I'm still not very familiar with the slider, with bet sizing, and I might not cope with the action on 2 tables. Now I don't have too much to do at the table. Let's look at the opponents. 38-7 on 13 hands. We already have an idea about how he plays. In the last 586 hands, he plays 33-10. That's a pretty standard Chinese player. We have a lot of those in PokerStars, for example. Yeah, this one's the same. All Chinese players I've seen play more or less the same, with stats around 35-10. I guess their Chinese poker school teach them to play this way. Fish here, that's a very fishy one. And at this table, he plays like a king. 62 VPIP. This one rather looks like a regular. Yeah, it looks like he's a regular, more or less. That's also a fish. Nothing interesting to see here. King Queen suited on the small blind. I probably won't squeeze here. That's a short player and he might also fold. Therefore, I'll just call, and let's look at the flop. I don't hit anything. Now let's look at the preflop aggressor. I don't have any stats on him, but we can see open raising stats, squeezing stats. We would see his fold to squeeze, if someone squeezed. And now they let us see the turn. But we didn't see the river, although it would be interesting. Unfortunately, we had to fold. And these guys now have the block about cold calling. This guy has a huge cold call, 75, and this one had like 40% on 41 hands. That already means something. And finally, open raise. I guess this is the first one in this session. However, I still don't have enough hands on him. Alright, now I guess you have an idea about how this HUD works, how the dynamic stats are displayed. If you want to learn about it in more detail, I will post a link in the description where you can find a detailed explanation. I guess it should be more comprehensive, than my review. And I still don't get it how I can increase my raise size. Anyway, you can have a look at the documentation and learn more about this HUD. Let's have a final look at the stats of this guy. He has the isolation raise at 5.9, not too much. I think he's made one isolation up till now. And we can also see this block of post-flop stats. Alright, I think it's time to wrap up the video. I hope it was understandable, and I hope it all made sense. Thank you for your attention, and good luck. Bye.